Hi, it's RPG Grandma. We're going to try to do this fast. Settings. Okay. Preferences. It really comes down to preference. Do you like bare bones? Do you like totally fleshed out? 800 pages. A setting that you can like look into and dig through and do something with, or do you want, where every city is on the planet kind of thing, or do you want bare bones that you have very little information, maybe next to no information? Where are you on the scale there? From everything's codified to flying by your pants, these are your pants, and everything in between. Most people probably want something a little bit in between, you know, but it all has potential to be useful. Even bare bones, like no setting given, other than it appears to be a fantasy setting, appears to be a sci-fi setting. I think we're doing a Western, So what do you do with that? Well, first you got to understand games. Where are they on their development? It's not just about what's comfortable for you as the GM. That's important because it's going to help you pick out what you want to do. But understand when you're looking at games, ask people who already have the game as well. What's the setting like? So like Old School Essentials, it's only now developing a setting, okay? An actual place that they claim is for Old School Essentials. All right? Whereas D&D has how many settings? It has a lot. Now, are some of those settings dead? Retired? What do you want to call it? Ignored? Yes. Not really ignored though. We keep getting them reprinted and updated. Why? Because people like those modules. That's why. But those modules are coming out of often specific settings that are not being made anymore, to be recycled into the current setting. Something you could have always done on your own anyway. So, but this current setting for D&D is Forgotten Realms. Right? We all know this. That's been running a long time, so there's a lot of information to work with. But you also have lots of setting material from World of Greyhawk, from Blackmoor, and basically those two diverged right at the beginning. They were the original sandbox, and then you've got Dark Sun, you've got Space Jammer, you've got, there's more, the Hollow World one. There's a lot of settings for D&D that were put out by whoever had the publishing rights for D&D. Dragonlance. So when you think about this stuff, think about where you are then, not just the game. Is it a well-established, long-running game with a long-running setting? Has it been published by different publishers? And in so doing so, how have they changed the lore, the history, the timelines? Traveler's a good example of that. It has actually 2 different timelines. 2. One that follows one path, one that follows another path. The GURPS one diverges. So go watch Star Trek. Look at all the changes they've made to Star Trek's universe. My gosh. It's crazy. So you watch the original, go watch Enterprise, go watch Next Generation, go watch whatever the new ones are, go watch the movies by everybody, old Trek, New Generation Trek, reboot of the old Trek, all that stuff. Discovery. Start watching that stuff, and at some point you're going to go, okay, we have some continuity issues. Okay. So it happens for a variety of reasons, including people want to do stuff different. Technologies change. They want to update the look of the technology for the future because, we've already gone past something, right? So you need to be realistic about what's going on sets, just like you need to be realistic about what's going on in books as editions change and stuff like that as well, especially when technology is involved. But also, sometimes I just reboot everything. Usually I do that with like a catastrophic event. Let's reboot the universe. What's the one thing we can change that will really mess stuff up? We could give everybody a plague. Oh yeah, that's a favorite one. Aliens could invade and take over and destroy. There could be a huge civil war that destroys everything. There's like lots of routes you can go. Just look at history on this planet. It could be a natural catastrophic thing. It could be an accidental man-made thing, like a spaceship that had like really really toxic stuff and dangerous stuff in it, crash landing on the planet, and then 100 years later blowing up, wiping civilization out for a huge part of the planet. I don't know. Could even have tilted the planet for all we know, right? Yeah. That's never happened in a fantasy role-playing game. Totally did. So the point that I'm getting at is settings are what you do with them. And even the timelines are what you do. Even when you have a established timeline with a sort of established setting, you can look at that timeline and go, what would be really cool? Instead of playing over here where the game is currently putting stuff out, let's go back on this imaginary timeline where they never put anything out for. And let's play here. This looks really interesting. The lizard people are in charge, and they had spaceships. Let's do that, right? So you can do that. And so a setting can give you the ideas to do something crazy and gonzo with, or a lack of timeline and setting can allow you to have the freedom to go gonzo with. Okay, but maybe that's not what you're ready for. Maybe you're not ready for that total seats your pants, fly by the leg, got a crazy idea, let's go for it. Maybe you need more information, and that takes some stress off of you. Maybe you're super busy. That's why I always use pre-made modules in the past. I'm busy. So, what can I do with this? Right? Okay. Yeah, we can work with this. It is fair. There's no right way to GM or do your settings. Someone will tell you there is. There really isn't. You got to figure out what works for you, okay, when it comes to settings and backgrounds and knitting things together if you want to make a more cohesive world. And it depends on your play group and what you guys are doing. If you're basically doing one-shot adventures, one-shot dungeons, one-shot save the princesses, and playing different games, it might not be a big deal because you might be starting everybody at different levels anyway. You might be, deciding to play one game at 6th level. Here's some pre-made characters. Or you might be starting out all the time at 1st level and you just want to play a bunch of different games. So the setting, that's kind of up to you. It's up to your preferences. So I don't think there's a right or wrong on this, if that makes sense, people. It's mainly know the games, kind of things they offer and don't offer. Ask friends, ask the net, people who have the game, they'll tell you. Know yourself, what you're comfortable with, what you might want to try is new, challenge yourself or not, and go from there and just have fun with it. But settings are what you make them. You can break them if you want. Do something totally different with them. You can use it or not use it. It's completely up to you. And you can have games that have no settings, and you can develop your own that's even better. Because you had a vision, and nobody's supplying you with that vision. That's how these settings get created in the first place. So just go for it. But that's why you see this variation in the games. It's the game's development, and it's what has been going on. Anyway, peace.